Hello, hello, hello! Welcome! We're returning back to the Crispy Compact Communiqué for this week. It's a special week. It's Thanksgiving. So we're out and about traveling with our families. Everything is crazy this week. There's 3 football games on Thursday. Did any work get done? I don't know.
None at all.
But you know what? That only makes it the perfect reasoning for us to revive the Crispy Compact Communiqué for this week of action. The shortened mobile version of the Crispy Noodle podcast that you know and love. I am Rich Liebig.
And I'm Michael Costanzo.
And we are still here to give you the most important tidbits in sports, entertainment, and odd news. But this week we are virtual. We're all over the internets. How are you doing, Mikey Costanzo? What's happening?
I'm doing good. I'm getting ready for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
One of my favorite holidays. It's just carbs and football and family and friends and all good stuff.
We can tell on your background if you got the video feed up. Mike's got the exclusive turkey with its own fork. Is the turkey cooking itself?
So this is a reimagining of Thanksgiving where the turkeys feast on us. I don't know.
Wow, that's interesting. But yeah,
so I'm getting in the mood.
Yeah, we are coming from 2 different locations this week. So we are doing the Crispy Compact Communiqué for those that are new to the podcast. This is literally what we did during the unspeakable time of COVID,
the dark ages
of COVID in 2020 and 2021. So,
it gave us a new format.
Yeah, and it gave us a way that we can still do the show virtually if we're feeling good, but we can't physically get to the same location in time or to our podcast equipment. So it's cool. Yeah, we have this option as well. Mike is reporting from the Crispy Noodle headquarters. I'm reporting from my own Liebig headquarters. You can tell because I have a picture of Heat in the corner. That's my background, is my drawing of Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in Heat.
You got some classy wall art.
Yeah, I only have that up. I've only been here for a year, and that's the only art I have up. I gotta start putting some other stuff up. But there you go. If you've got the video feed up, you see our backgrounds there. But if you're listening to us still on a traditional audio-only podcast, don't worry, because we intend to delve right into all the news at hand. Unfortunately, for the Crispy Compact Communiqué, we don't have the sound effects or the bumpers or anything like that, so we have to physically just go one step into the other. So, Mike, do you just want to jump right into it, or do you have anything you want to lead off on top of your list, or everything good?
No, I mean, I think we should just dive right into it. First topic, of course, is always the sports sampler, kicking things off with a little bit of football news. And the big news, of course, in the sports world is the Eagles got back on track this past week by narrowly beating the Indianapolis Colts. It was a good test game for the Eagles. Jonathan Taylor, a pretty good running back. We had some concerns going into the game.
I think we still do when it comes to that.
We still do, but the Eagles showed up. They won a very close defensive game. Officially now with a winning record, 9-1. No matter, they could lose out and they would still finish the season with a winning record. Rich, initial thoughts after this game, 17-16, thoughts, concerns, hopes, dreams, what do you got?
Yeah, it almost turned into a nightmare on this one because almost for the first 3 quarters of this game, the Eagles just weren't doing anything productive, it seemed like.
Yeah.
But I guess on the flip side, though, that really doesn't mean that the defense is holding up. I mean, it was very much a bend, don't break, because they let up a lot of chunk plays and consistent gashes, but it seemed like when the going got tough, they held the Colts out of the end zone, and that seemed to be the key for this game. And sometimes that's all it takes, is getting a field goal instead of a touchdown. Sometimes those are the battles you need to win. I think there was a third and goal stop that the Colts really could have run away with this game, but they held them to a field goal, and I think it turned the tide with the shift a little bit of the momentum back to the Eagles. And it seemed like that last drive, I know we've been making a joke of Jalen Hurts, whether or not he's the guy, but that drive he had where he ran into the end zone, it's like he willed that play to happen. So it just seemed like it seemed like the inverse of everything that had happened so far this season, because we're so used to the Eagles getting off to a hot start. The second quarter, that insane stat that they're like the best team ever in the second quarter. This was the complete opposite. They were slow as hell the first half of this game, and then all of a sudden they kind of woke up and turned it on just in the nick of time to win in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, 3 points through 3 quarters, and then 14 in the fourth. You really like to see, in terms of talking about Jalen Hurts' evolution, you like to see the come from behind win. You like to see, how he plays in crunch time, taking the game on his own shoulders. He's like, I'm going to win this game by myself, because the rest of the team outside of the defense offensively, we were kind of just, chugging along a little bit. Miles Sanders, 47 yards, Devontae Smith, 78. Those were your offensive leaders for the game. Not really much was happening. So Jalen Hurts decides, I'm just gonna do it myself. I think that that last quarter he had a lot of designed runs. He took it right up the gut.
Even that last play where he walked in the end zone, that was really cool. I don't know if you picked it up. They had, I think, 4 wide receivers. I gotta admit, that was a pretty ballsy call. Like, all the wide receivers, spread them out.
Yep.
And then see if you got that middle chunk of the end zone when he steps back, and he did, and just ran right through. It was perfect.
I'm just surprised that they didn't have a guy spying him.
Yeah.
On it down in the red zone.
Yeah.
Game on the line. It just seems like a mental error on the Colts' part. And I hope that that's not just if we face off against a better team, maybe they will account for that. I'm hoping that we'll be able to counteract in the future when teams are spying Jalen Hurts. But for right now, you got to take the W. 9-1, officially a winning record. And I there's just so much to like about this team right now. Whether it's defensively, offensively, they keep finding ways to win games, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and that'll be tested as the season goes on and we get into December and January. Yeah, you got to have different ways to win football games to survive.
How about the new additions on defense? Like, immediately jumping in.
Yeah.
What?
So, how do you say his name? Whatever.
Ndamukong Suh, and
he already had a
Joseph.
Sack. Yeah, right away.
Yeah, I mean, Howie Roseman and this team, they are not standing by and they're just letting things happen. They are going to keep pushing and keep fighting and keep bringing in players and changing things. And you like to see that activity. You like to see that push.
Yeah. Also, I got something for you. I didn't realize, but it totally hit me after the game that this was almost a sort of revenge game for Nick Sirianni, because apparently he was really tight with Frank Reich, who got fired 2 weeks ago from the Colts. And then, as we talked about before, they hired literally random ESPN analysis who once played for them. So sure, he could be a good coach, Jeff Saturday. And Nick Sirianni had a really interesting press conference where he didn't say the exact words that I was playing for Frank, but he heavily insinuated that this was almost a revenge game in his honor. Do you think that's like a thing? Like, or I don't know, any reaction to that? Or
I definitely think it's a thing, because I saw a report that, everybody saw the clip of him jumping up on the bench and shouting at the stands. And the report that I saw was that he was shouting, "This S is for Reich. This one's for Frank." And so I believe it. They were very close. He was the offensive coordinator there under Frank Reich and helped design those offenses that were, trying to get it done with, old washed up quarterbacks. And they found a lot of success under Reich and Sirianni. They just, it ran out. And so, being close, he wanted to honor his mentor. And by handing the Colts a loss, kind of showing like, hey, you did wrong.
Yeah,
So I believe it.
It's weird. I always kind of thought we were on friendly terms with the Colts. Like we've had like kind of this weird mutual trading between like Frank Reich, Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
I feel like this last game was just like, oh nope, that's it. The goodwill is over. How dare you get rid of Frank Reich for some ESPN personality?
Yeah.
So
And the other thing that I like about Nick Sirianni jumping up on the bench there and shouting at the fans, he really has a true passion. I know people, including us, were a little confused at the hiring at the time, and I know he got a lot of flack for his Flowers comment.
Flowers.
But you know what? No, give the guy props. He really knows how to connect with his players.
The flowers are growing.
The flowers are growing. Whatever he said to those guys, I mean, since that point, this team has been on fire. He's connecting with the players. He's connecting with the coaching staff, the fans, the city. Right now, knock on wood, it seems like everything that he's doing is just working, and we really can't say you cannot downplay what he's brought to that team and the organization. And jumping up on the bench and shouting at the fans is just like, I think, emblematic of like the kind of fire and passion that he brings to it that just resonates with everyone.
Yeah, and he definitely felt very passionate at the end of that game. Overall, I'm happy, but also at the same time, why can't we just have a nice complete game? Why it's always got to be one thing or the other? It's always got to be either the first half or the second half. But
so what are your concerns then? It sounds like you do have concerns. Is it still the same stuff as before? Like
the run defense is still very suspect. Yeah. I feel like it's only going to get worse because we've got Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon on deck next for this Sunday night, and then Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's going to be tough. We're gonna get into a Fantastic Four picks, but there's some very tough running backs coming up.
We face, I think, how many top 5 running backs in the next couple of weeks? I mean, you just mentioned Green Bay was Aaron Jones. We got Derrick
Henry. And AJ
Henry.
Dillon. They got a 1-2 punch.
And then, of course, we have to face Saquon Barkley twice still.
Yeah.
And then Dallas with Zeke and Pollard.
Although Pollard is really the key back there.
I mean, it's just a brutal onslaught of great running backs in this last half of the season. So we'll see how the Eagles, continue to play. I really, really hope that they can maintain this pace. We got that one loss out of the way. I'm expecting at least another 2 or 3, but if we can finish the season, maybe 14-3, that puts us in really, really good position. What?
That means they only lose 2 games from here on out.
You think otherwise? What do you think?
Oh, there's going to be some tough games coming up.
I think at least 13 or 14 wins. I think 13 has to be. If they end up losing, if they end up only winning 12, that's kind of not a great. You think that could be the case? Lose 4 more? If they lose 4 more, that's a bad slide before the playoffs.
There's a couple of tough games on the docket, and one of them is going to be the Titans. The Titans always seem to have our number. They always just seem to just.
That's gonna be our second loss.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna be our second loss as the Titans.
Yeah. So you know what? We'll get it. Yeah. Should we just launch into it? We're already talking about the future.
Sure. Let's launch into it.
Let's launch into the Fantastic Four picks. I don't have the dramatic music because obviously we're on the mobile go here.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
I'll just make our.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. But here we go.
We have some really good matchups for, what is this, week 12 or week 13? I can't remember. It's week 12.
It's Thanksgiving week.
It's Thanksgiving week. That's right.
3 games on Thursday.
That's a lot of games, but you need a lot of games.
You got your 12 o'clock. So what is it? 12? Is it 12 or 12:30? I forget. It's.
Let's see. It's 12:30, 4:30, and 8:20.
And 8:20. Perfect.
So
you time out your meals.
That's right.
And you enjoy Thanksgiving, and you go by those time slots.
You go from basically noon to midnight. It's just
Yep.
eating and football nonstop.
Perfect.
On and off, on and off.
The best holiday ever.
The best, it really is one of the best holidays. But sandwiched right there in the middle at that 4:30 time slot is, I think, the game of Thanksgiving. It's the Giants at the Cowboys. This is of huge interest to us in Philadelphia because these two teams are chasing down the Eagles for that number one spot. They're both 7-3. Whoever wins this launches themselves into sole possession of second place behind the Eagles. Rich, who do you think comes out on top, the Giants or the Cowboys in this one?
All right. Well, last week when the Cowboys faced the Vikings, I said, look at the momentum swings. The Vikings were coming off of a huge game that they shouldn't have won, and they won. Dallas was coming off of a game that they should have won, but they lost. And I said, the Vikings are too high on their own supply, and they're going to be tired. And the Cowboys are pissed off that they lost the game that they should have won and going to be more focused. And what did I say? Cowboys smacked the Vikings right in the face, gave them their second loss of the season. I think, what was the final? It was like 30-3. Like they took off in the first half and never looked back. It was crazy. So
yeah, it was 40-3.
40-3 finals.
Man.
Yeah, but they were up by 30 in the first half. They got up so much and they didn't look back. It was exactly what I thought was going to happen. So this week,
yes,
the Cowboys are off of a huge win. They're flying high and mighty. They think they're God's gift to the world. On the other hand, the Giants, they lost an embarrassing game to the Lions that they know they did not prepare for correctly. Ultimate trap game. They just walked right in. They thought it was going to be a gimme win, and they didn't show up. So now they're the ones that are pissed off. On a short week, too, Dallas also has a weird history lately of choking on Thanksgiving, which has been great for me because that's like the perfect dessert after your turkey is a nice Cowboys choke job.
Oh, absolutely.
So guess what? It's going to be Giants, and I'm very confident in this. And the point spread on this is ridiculous. I think they're giving right now.
It's 9.5.
9.5. Take it. Perfect. Like I think the Giants could outright win this. I think Giants outright win this. So if you're going to get 9 points in addition to that, I think you got to take this bet. This is very close to being a lock, but you never say that in sports betting because nothing's ever truly a lock. But
it's really shocking that point spread.
I think this is a great bet to take. So Giants I think Giants could win this game outright. So definitely, if you're giving me 9 points on this, go Giants.
Yeah, and I have to agree here. The point spread's ridiculous. I think the Giants are a little bit better than that. The first time these teams matched up, it was a single score game. I know, without Dak, yada, yada, yada. But statistically, these two teams are within striking distance of each other. They're both very similar on the ground, very similar in their passing attack, defensively, both in the top half of the league. Offensively, right around the same benchmark as each other. I think, like you said, the Giants, this is kind of a must-win game for them in a super tight division. After dropping a heartbreaker to Detroit, if they want to stay alive, they have to come out and beat their defensive opponent.
That's another thing
division
too.
Opponent.
Another thing too, they lost the first matchup, so they have to.
They have to win this
if they want to contend. They have to split with the Cowboys. So
and especially with these division rivalries, there's always something special about going into the opponent's home and just smacking them down. And the NFC East is such a strong rivalry between these teams. I think the Giants are going to relish an opportunity to do that against Dallas. So you combine it with the fact that they just lost a heartbreaker, they got something to prove, they got to stay alive, going into Dallas. It's setting it up for a nice Giants upset. So I'm in complete agreement there.
Yeah.
Next up, though, we have an AFC playoff preview. The Cincinnati Bengals are traveling to Tennessee to face off against the Titans. Both these teams doing very well this year. I think that everybody expected the Bengals to do a little bit better. I think we expected Tennessee to do a little bit better as well. But how do you see this one shaking out?
Well, the key for this is whether or not Jamar Chase comes back this week. And in what role, too? I mean, they might say he's coming back, but is it only going to be for a couple handful of plays just so he can get back into game shape? Or are they really going to play him 100%? I'm going to lean towards that they're not going to play him 100%. And the Titans are they're nasty right now. They are going old school, run it down your throat, and have the defense stop you. I mean, until I see otherwise, I can't doubt this Titans team right now. Now, there is concern. If you do stop Derrick Henry and they have to rely on Ryan Tannehill,
They got nothing.
They kind of don't really have any momentum with Ryan Tannehill. But Derrick Henry is just... He was a little slow to start off this season, but he has found his groove again. He's hitting the right holes at the right time. He's being King Henry again. Until I see different, I can't doubt the Titans, especially at home, and the Bengals still unsure of what they're going to do with Jamar Chase yet. I think the Bengals will be back into elite territory next week because I think then they'll work Jamar Chase more into the system. I think it's a little too early to push him in right now. So I'm going to go Titans at home.
Yeah, this is a really tricky one. The Titans, it's tough because the Bengals, if they had a stronger rushing attack, I would say Bengals, easily because they have the defense that can stop Derrick Henry. But the problem is, though, that they rely so heavily on the pass game. After you stop Derrick Henry, you have to control the clock. You have to control the pace of play. Can they do that if they can't run the ball? So it's one of those things where it's like they're set up perfectly to counteract the Titans' strength, but after they counteract it, they have nothing to keep the momentum going on their end. If they can't get the passing game going, it's quick 3 and outs.
Yeah.
And doing that against a strong running team usually spells disaster. Not only that, but you look at the Titans' record recently, they played some pretty good defenses and have won. Denver has a good defense. They beat them. Kansas City is always a tough team. They took them to overtime. Indianapolis, back at the end of October, has a pretty decent defense, beat them. So, they're getting it done, and they're getting it done despite the really lackluster. I mean, I think they're dead last in passing in the league. So maybe at home they're comfortable. Even despite the Bengals defense, I think they might be able to pull off a win here. Although it's going to be really close. You always mention the point spread, and I got to tell you, it's only 1.5. So this is kind of in the eyes of a lot of people.
Basically a toss-up.
It's kind of a toss-up, right? So everything we say with a grain of salt. But right now, you got to lean a little bit towards the home team with the better record. Just statistically, it should go in that direction. So I have to agree on the Titans as well. But this next game here, this one really is a true toss-up because both these teams are fighting just to stay alive. You have the Atlanta Falcons traveling to Washington to face off against the Commanders. Both of these teams right there smack dab in the middle of the pack, struggling. One's 5-6, the other's 6-5, but weirdly enough, still both in the playoff hunt. Who ends up winning this one? These middle of the pack, listless teams.
Oh, the wonderful commies. Commanders.
They're hanging in there. Weirdly enough,
they are, and they believe they can still make the playoffs. I mean,
they absolutely can.
Yeah, and with the 7th seed, you can have 4 teams now. Chances, it is possible 4 teams from the same division can make the playoffs. And right now, Washington is winning these games that let them still be alive in the playoff hunt. And Heineke, this team...
They're going with him to start. They announced, Wentz is pretty much done.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes.
This team likes Heineke. They are going to battle for him. They are playing with a higher motivation, a higher intensity. They like him.
Don't you just love Wentz being involved in another backup quarterback controversy? At times I feel bad for the guy. Then I remember what he did here in Philly those last few years, and what a career.
Yeah. No, I think Wentz is on his way out.
Yeah.
because I think next year he's got to be a backup, and I don't know if he's willing to take it.
No,
Yeah.
he's not.
So anyway, yeah, I think Washington at home should be able to handle the business here. Atlanta is still, I don't know. They're still a big ball of mess. Like, just is Mariota, like, I know he's a serviceable quarterback, but I mean, do you really want to
No,
trust your faith in him? Like,
no, I'm not putting the ball in Mariota's hands and saying, go win us the game. I'm also not giving the ball or letting the defense take over this game just to, you're going with the Commanders. I'm going with the Commanders too, because just 32nd overall in defense, 30th in passing. This team doesn't have much going for it. The only thing they have going for it is the fact they play in a super weak division.
Yeah.
Their division leader is Tampa Bay at 5-5.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is worse than our worst team
right now.
Which is the Commanders. So, I feel like I'm just constantly picking the teams with the better record or the team at home here, but you got to go with the Commanders here. It just makes more sense. They're kind of just doing the bare minimum of what needs to be done, and sometimes that's all you need.
Yep.
So I'm going with the Commanders as well. And finally, to wrap up this week, we have our very own Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Green Bay Packers and a washed-up Aaron Rodgers in Sunday primetime. Rich, who do you see winning this one? Will Aaron Rodgers come back from the dead and win one against us? Now, the Packers always seem to have our number. So what do you think?
They do, but if the Eagles lose this game, it's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be the running tandem of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, because that's really the only bright spot in this offense. It is shocking kind of the level of quality that Aaron Rodgers has fallen off this season. He only had that brief moment in the sun against the Cowboys. Other than that game, this whole season, he has not been making throws that he used to. He's lost some zip on the ball. He doesn't have the chemistry that he used to have with his wide receivers.
He's blaming them for everything, which I think is despicable. As a leader of the team, one of the best at your position, shut up. Go out, play football. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
It kind of ticks me off, and for that reason, I'm just sorry. I just stole your spotlight. I'm going with Philadelphia because I hate Aaron Rodgers. But
if the Eagles do lose this game, it's going to be because of the run. That's what scares me. Again, to come back full circle, the running defense the Eagles present still worries me.
Yeah.
Which is why I wouldn't be confident in was it? I think they're 7-point favorites. Yeah. I wouldn't take that bet, but I think the Eagles still pull this off. But there's a possibility they don't, because Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are probably the second best 1-2 punch in the league, other than Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, it does worry me that the Packers have a top 10 rushing attack, but we also are in the top of the league in a lot of different measurable categories, including total offense, the second best defense statistically, the sixth best rushing attack. And I just really, really dislike Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers this season. They don't deserve a win, and I think the Eagles are getting back on track. We were able to bottle up Jonathan Taylor with the Colts, and so I hope another week of Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph practicing with the team.
Well, you don't have to worry about it, because the Packers definitely aren't making the playoffs. They're lifeless at this point.
No, they're dead on arrival, and I expect the Eagles to handle them as good teams should. So I'm going with the Eagles as well.
All right. So we actually agreed on all the Fantastic Four picks then, I think.
We did. You know why? Because a lot of them are kind of lackluster. As you go through the list this week, there's a lot of lopsided matchups. Either, a team with a big win record against a nobody, or, the ones that I picked were the closest ones. So you make do with what you got this week.
Yeah, that's right. But you know what? Hey, this is Thanksgiving weekend. There's no teams on bye. There's 3 games on Thanksgiving. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Anything can happen as well. So, we could be 0-4 this week. Who knows?
Yeah, so we'll find out how the turkey hits the players this week. But with that, we got to take our commercial break here to end the sports sampler. But on the flip side, we'll have the entertainment entree and then the non-fortune cookie odd news on the rebound. Don't go anywhere. This is the Crispy Compact Communiqué. We'll be right back.
Ready for the weekend? Happy Friday. Hi, my name's Marie, and I'm an artist who's been making Happy Friday doodles every week for over 7 years. And now you can own my art collection in this Volume 1 and Volume 2 art series. These doodles span across multiple themes, yearly festivities, various countries, languages, and more. Both coffee table books have something for everyone and are the perfect conversation starter or gift for a friend. Really, anyone who enjoys a good weekend. Available on Amazon, Ingram, BookBaby, Barnes & Noble, and more. Visit happyfridaydoodles.com/books and get your copies today. Let's celebrate the best day of the week. Happy Friday.
All right, and just like that, we are back. Back to the show. It's a little jarring that we don't have the musical interludes, or I'm a stickler. I'm used to my old radio ways. So
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Instead, now you just shout,
just-
"We're back!"
yeah, it just happens. We're back. Yeah. So there you go. The mysteries of the Crispy Compact Communique. We just hop right back into the swing of things. So we're done the sports sampler, and we're ready to go to the next part of the show, the entertainment entree. So we've got some entertainment news. Obviously, this weekend being Thanksgiving, I mean, be with your friends and family. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
do catch up on shows that you've missed out throughout the year. But we're gonna say that, you know, the things that you should keep an eye out for is your family and your friends, and enjoying the Thanksgiving holiday and enjoying that lovely turkey dinner. So
Absolutely, yeah. So there's no This Week in Entertainment, but oddly enough, I do have a recommendation. I forgot to mention this. I watched A Christmas Story Christmas
How
this
was
past
it?
weekend. And I gotta say, it wasn't terrible.
Wow.
I think that people should go check it out. What I really appreciated about it was the fact that, you know, it had all those moments of nostalgia where it references what happened originally, but it doesn't. So your big issue with Star Wars Episode 7 was that it recreated basically everything.
Yeah, it was the
And
same
this-
story, same.
Right.
The third
And-
act is the same.
It's the same exact thing. And that's what I was kind of worried about going into A Christmas Story Christmas, but they didn't do that. Every time that there was like a moment where it felt like they were going to repeat the same thing, like, you know, at one point the car breaks down, I'm like, oh, here we go. Here's the moment where the kid drops the F-bomb. But they didn't do it, right? So like the situation is similar. They put themselves in similar sort of holiday tropes, you know, traveling to the family's house and the car breaks down kind of thing. But what happens after it breaks down is different. You know, going to get the tree is different. And they do the same things. They have the same holiday hallmarks, but the outcomes are all different, which keeps it fresh.
A question: when
Yeah.
is the story actually set?
The 70s.
Yeah, because they got to follow. Because the first movie was made in '83, but it took place in the '50s.
Yeah.
So it's got to have the same time adjustment. Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of my criticisms is the era and the setting is not as charming. So, you know, it's kind of like 70s, everything's like orange and like kind of like has that 70s vibe. So it's not as charming as like the Leave It to Beaver-esque, you know, nuclear family from the 40s and 50s. But it was still very funny. It still had some great, you know, callbacks to the original. I think that they, you know, changed things up just enough to keep it interesting for fans, where they didn't repeat the same scenes verbatim. So, and it had a very, you know, heartwarming message at the end. And like every good Christmas movie, it had a very good, feel good, you know, moment to it. And, you know, it's not winning any Oscars. It's not as good as the first, but it's also not as bad as a lot of the other, late sequels or remakes that we've been having recently.
Yeah, so is this the start of a franchise then? Are we really going to have a Christmas Story next year?
A Christmas Story cinematic universe.
Yes.
It's already more successful than the dark monster movie universe.
From Universal. Yep, the dark.
It's also, in my opinion, more successful than the DC universe as well. No, I kid.
Thank you.
But it's I don't think it should be a franchise. I think they should put it to bed. It felt like it had a good conclusion. To drag it out any further would be kind of ridiculous. It was already kind of at its limits.
Yeah.
If they went any further, it would break. But anyway, there you go.
And then next year we're going to be reporting on a Christmas Story. It's coming.
Probably. I'm like, don't do it, and they're like, oh, it's already being shot.
Yeah, probably. Look, he's only got 10 years left. We gotta pump out all these movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But speaking of other things that need to come to a close and maybe reach their natural conclusion, we may be saying goodbye to one of the MCU's longest running heroes. Chris Hemsworth may be looking to hang up I can't say the hammer's name, damn it.
Yeah.
Mjolnir or whatever it is.
Yeah. Hammer.
Hammer. Thor.
Here comes Hammer. Here comes Hammer. Yeah. I don't have my parachute pants on. Sorry.
No, you don't have your parachute pants on, unfortunately. But yeah, so Chris Hemsworth is officially taking a break from acting after discovering, as part of a TV special he did, that he's genetically predisposed to Alzheimer's. And that he wants to step away from acting to spend more time with family, which is completely understandable. And this kind of calls into question what's going to happen with Thor in the MCU, because he, as part of taking this break, he said that it will probably be Thor's last outing. Whatever movie he does next will probably be the last time he picks up the hammer or the axe. He said, quote, "I feel like we'd probably have to close the book if I ever did it again. You have this birth of a hero, the journey of a hero, then the death of a hero. And I don't know. Am I at that stage? Who knows?" End quote.
I could see him being at the end, because
Thor's narrative kind of reached a conclusion, right?
Yeah, I watched Love and Thunder actually pretty recently. I wasn't really blown away by it, and I think it might be a sign that I think his story's over. Like, it's kind of, there's nowhere else really for him to go other than some sort of heroic death or some sort of way to leave the universe. I feel like it wouldn't surprise me if what's the Kang Chronicles or whatever the next team up movie is going to be, the Kang Kang fight, I don't know, Kang Wang, I don't know.
Kang Dynasty, I
Kang
think
Dynasty, thank you.
Or I think it's Secret Wars, then Kang Dynasty, but yeah,
whatever,
I know what you mean.
Whatever the next team up movie is, I think that would be a good time to have the death of Thor. Kang, that could be like a great way to like establish like, oh, Kang he's done it. Like whatever, like remember like there's like that moment in Infinity War where the you're just like, oh, Thanos has got it. Like he's officially
it's the snap. They need a moment like the snap where something to bring the Avengers back together. Basically, Secret Wars, if you really want to get into it, Secret Wars is, everybody gets teleported to a multiversal planet called Battle World. And everybody in the MCU kind of fights. And I'm thinking here, super easy way to write Thor out. He gets killed on Battle World. He gets killed fighting in this war. And then everyone's like, okay, we lost one of our own to this like ridiculous scenario that we've been thrust into. It's finally time to get the team back together and seek out Kang in the next movie, Kang Dynasty, and defeat him. I mean, it kind of writes itself. And to your point, I don't think that I would be terribly upset to see Thor go. I thought that the fourth movie was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, I wasn't blown away by it.
Like, the character reached its natural conclusion.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to me if he gets written off. I think he's had his moment in the sun. He's one of the original Avengers, so that kind of shows you. I mean, everybody else is pretty much left. Iron Man, Captain America.
I was gonna say he's the only original one left outside of Hulk, but Hulk was never really an MCU
Hawkeye
mainstay.
doing anything?
He had a TV show, right, which I never watched. No, not good.
I don't know. Is Hulk? No, I mean, like, is he just like, I don't know? Is he in the background? Does he still fight? I don't know.
I have no idea. But I did want to bring this up because you mentioned he is one of the originals. He is one of the original Avengers. He's had 4 solo movies, more than any other MCU character, and he's appeared in every single Avengers film. So he is, weirdly enough, more prominent than Iron Man and Captain America at this point. So if you really want to pass the torch and do something like New Avengers or Young Avengers, you got to get rid of the old guard. And the last of the old guard is Thor.
Yeah, I think it's time.
It's time. I think it's time. I wouldn't mind. I think it could be really poignant. I think it could be really interesting. I think it could be, a unique new narrative that we can explore and finally make way for some of those other heroes if Marvel really wants to push them into the limelight.
Yeah, and Westworld got canceled, so I'm sure Tessa Thompson wouldn't mind taking up the mantle.
Valkyrie, yeah.
Yeah, like everything.
I like her. She's good.
It's all kind of coming together, I feel like.
There you go.
So I'm sorry for anybody that loves Chris Hemsworth, but I think it's time.
Yeah, I think it's definitely time. And I think he's making a good decision to step away and take a little bit of a break. And sometimes out of adversity comes creativity. So, Marvel addressing Chris Hemsworth stepping down may lead to something new and exciting. May lead to the next chapter. So while it's sad to see him go, not unexpected and I think kind of, in a weird way, welcome.
Yeah. We have another topic.
Yes,
because this is entertainment entree. We got to fill you.
It is the entertainment entree, and we're gonna stuff you just like Disney and Fox is stuffing the pockets of James Cameron to finish his Avatar sequel. Oh boy, Rich. Director James Cameron recently said that his Avatar sequel, Way of the Water, or I think I have that right, Way of the Way of Water.
Taking a leak in the water.
Taking a leak in the water.
That's the new Avatar sequel, yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. He's taking a leak on Disney because he said that the Avatar sequel needs to, quote, be the 3rd or 4th highest grossing film in history. That's your threshold. That's your break even, end quote. They are saying that Avatar, The Way of Water, needs to make $2 billion to break even. And this is not really a story other than the fact that is just an insane amount of money. Has this sequel, well, one, I know you didn't like Avatar. You probably think that this sequel isn't needed. But then to have James Cameron come out and say, we need, to make $2 billion at the box office to make it profitable. Is that a sign that this movie is just completely unnecessarily uncalled for?
Yeah. So clarification. I'll say Avatar is a decent movie. Like
it's like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's like average. People made it like it was the end all be all. It was a cool world. It was interesting visuals. They pushed the technology forward. Sure, all of these things are true. The story was fine. The characters were okay. It wasn't The Godfather. It wasn't,
exactly. Like people were trying to say this was the best movie of 2008 or whatever. I don't know, whatever year it came out, 2007, 2008. I don't know. Like no, there are so many better movies that came out that calendar year. But yeah, I mean, I can't believe that James Cameron has enough enthusiasm to make a sequel to this, and especially for all this money. Good luck, because I don't think it's gonna hit unless this movie secretly turns out to be The Godfather Part 2 of sequel movies. I don't think this movie's gonna hit was it 2 billion it needs?
2 billion.
That's
So here's
ridiculous.
the thing. The first movie made 2.9. It's the highest grossing film of all time, but that's kind of cheap because it re-released twice. So
That's it? I thought it came out like a couple of times. Because like didn't it have like it had like a 3D showing and then like super duper IMAX. I remember it came out like a couple of times and it was like, how many times do you need to see this movie?
I think it was in theaters at least 3 times.
Yeah.
So its initial run, then it came out again, then it came out again recently, like a year or two ago.
It came out like on 3D and then like super IMAX,
Yeah, so it came out at least 3 times. But it did make 2.9, so it hypothetically the sequel should at least do 2 billion, but like how much more? Like if it does like $2,000,000,001, it's a good box office haul. But does that mean they're only making $1 of profit? Like, that's a little bit exaggerated, but is that, do you think, I don't know. If I were an executive, I'd be like, no, we're canning the third movie in the trilogy because they are doing a third as well.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
By the way, Way of the Water comes out on December 16th, so it's like literally like 2-3 weeks away. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't think it's necessary.
Do we know like who financed, like who actually, like, was it Disney or like?
So it was Fox originally, but obviously because Disney bought Fox, they're kind of all in this like messy, tangled, weird thing.
Can I go off on a tangent? I think we got a little bit of time.
Yeah, tangent away.
I heard an interesting rumor. Disney reappointed Iger as the CEO.
Yep.
He has been getting chummy with some higher ups at Apple.
Okay.
And there's an interesting rumor that he's being brought in to merge Apple and Disney. What would you think if that happened?
So to merge like Apple in its entirety and Disney is in its entirety, or just like the streaming services?
Yeah, the streaming service. That there's going to be some sort of merge between Apple TV and Disney Plus.
So Disney and Apple actually go way back. A little bit of interesting history because I'm obviously a fan of both.
Yeah, this is like a home run for you.
So they've been very chummy since the beginning because Steve Jobs was a big investor in Pixar. And Pixar and Apple worked very closely. And then Pixar obviously was purchased by Disney, but they have deep, deep roots. Steve Jobs was on the Disney board, and Disney had members on Apple's board. Even to this day, you get some Disney things on Apple products. Like they have like a Mickey Mouse watch face for the Apple Watch, and there's always been a lot of cross promotion. So it's one of those areas where it's not completely unrealistic, especially when you take into account that Apple TV Plus, while it has a lot of award-winning shows and movies, does not have the subscriber numbers. Disney has the subscriber numbers, but to this point, I think has failed to really gain that critical acclaim that Apple TV Plus has found. So
it could be an interesting match.
How do you marry the subscribers with the critical acclaim? You work something out on the back end and you do some kind of cross-platform promotion between Apple TV Plus and Disney. I would not be surprised. I mean, these two companies love money, and what better way to print money than by coming together?
I'm glad you admitted that. Yes, they love money.
Well, here's the thing. When you get to company, everybody likes to think that the Apples and the Microsofts and the Googles and the Samsungs and the Sonys and all these companies, like, oh, they really love the customers. No, they love your money, okay?
Yeah.
They make good things, but they make good things because they know you'll spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on them. That's what it is. Sony didn't gift us God of War Ragnarok because they loved us. They gifted it to us because they knew it would make, tens of millions of dollars. And Apple isn't going to team up with Disney because they're like, oh, we want to have the best for our customers. That's what they'll say, but it's just going to make them the most money. I mean, let's be realistic, guys. But I don't care because I subscribe to both. So it works out for me.
Yeah, maybe you'll be saving a little bit of money if they merge.
Yeah, exactly. So I
So
won't complain.
it could be an interesting merger down the line, but still in its infancies and definitely a rumor as of this point. All right, so with that, that will end the entertainment entree. But you got to have a little dessert, especially this weekend, this Thanksgiving weekend coming up. You got to have a nice, tasty, slice of pumpkin pie or pecan pie or something. So why not have a tasty dessert here with some odd news? We got to have some odd news to wrap up the
Absolutely.
show. And we are going to Florida. So, Mike, I need you to do the Florida song a cappella, if you will.
Who is this effing guy in Florida? It's Florida and they're crazy.
There you go. The
I got it, man. We don't even need a soundboard.
it should be that should be the Florida national state anthem, not national anthem. They're not a country. Florida state anthem.
They wish they were their own country.
If they did, would anybody be against that?
nobody would notice, and two, nobody would care.
Yeah.
It would just one day it just happens,
They're fine.
and everyone's like, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Hey, okay.
It's okay. So what are they doing down there? What the heck is happening?
All right. So we have an elderly couple here. We're going to talk about the case of 72-year-old Stuart Rudolph Westerlund Jr.
That is a name and
That's
a
a
half.
name. Yep.
Westerland Jr.
Yep. Stuart Rudolph Westerlund Jr. And his wife, 65-year-old Mary Kessler Westerlund.
These names are they're, I don't know. They're like good names.
Yes.
They're very regal sounding names.
Yes.
Westerland?
Westerland.
Like if you meet somebody named Westerland, you're like a duke or something, right?
Yeah, Duke of Westerlund. Yeah.
It's right, like neither of us sound like we're dukes, but Westerland definitely sounds like a duke.
Yeah, that sounds like a Duke name. Yeah.
Or like something like that.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Stewart first. He was golfing this past Saturday. So maybe he had a little too many beers or maybe he didn't have a good round of golf because he got into an accident and drove away.
No. Oh,
So
no.
that's definitely a big no-no. You get into an accident, you must stop and assess the situation.
Absolutely.
Apparently he damaged his front tires to the point that they, quote, became non-functional.
Jeez.
So
what did he hit though?
he hit another car,
Okay.
but
That's a bad accident if you damage your front tires so they're not functional.
yeah, like we're not talking about like a little ding or something. He full-blown crashed into the car
Yeah.
and he still drove away.
This is not a fender bender or a scratch. This is like he like GTA slammed into another car and just kept driving on his rims.
Yeah, this is full-blown accident. Yeah, he did not do a little dink here. This is non-functional. That's a pretty bad term
Okay.
for your car. His decision to keep on driving led to more damage to his vehicle. So I don't even want to know the damage, by the end of the story to that car. So he got home.
Okay. It was good that he got home relatively safe, I guess.
Yep. And that's when Mary noticed how bad the car was in. Well, the shape that the car was in. And decided to yell at him. During their argument, she bit him. So,
Okay.
yeah, wow. Just, you destroy the car, I'll get your blood. Ah.
It's like, what is that his punishment? Like, oh, you wrecked the car. Come here so I can bite you?
Yeah, you must lose a liter of blood. I don't know. Like,
God.
that's your punishment. I don't know. So she bit him. Stewart then retaliated back. Struck her in the face. Cops finally arrived onto the scene with all the commotion. The couple were so drunk, according to the police report. I love this part. I don't think I've ever actually seen this written in a police report. The cops noted that due to heavy intoxication, it was impossible to gather further information.
Wow.
It's written in the police report.
Yikes. So they're so drunk they can't say or do anything.
They can't even like find out, was there anything leading up to this? Did they have an argument before? Was he allowed to go golfing? Maybe they have a fight about him going golfing. Did he have a bad round? Like, yeah, like we don't know anything because of how slosh these guys are.
Yikes. That's pretty bad.
I've never seen that specifically listed in the police report. Like,
yeah, we've been doing this a long time, and
like
no matter how out of their minds people are, they always, the excuses aren't great. It's always like the God told me to do it, or like the devil's gonna get me, so I have, or whatever, the CIA is after me. It's always a bad excuse, but there's always an excuse. These guys were so just gone that they couldn't muster anything.
Yeah. And like
that's bad.
Right. And we've had stories where we're like, oh, where's the follow-up? Where's the reasoning? Well, here you go, Mike. The cops actually wrote down just for you. We have no idea. They're so hammered.
They're like, look, we know just as much as you guys. Like, if you guys want to interview them, go ahead. We couldn't get anything out of them.
Yeah. So, good luck. You're on your own. Like, we can't do anything about this.
That's really bad.
Yeah. Like I've never seen that actually noted in the police report. You know,
we've been doing this almost a decade.
Yeah. We're coming up on 10 years soon. Yeah.
And the Odd News Perp has always had something to say.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not good, but something.
Yeah, and these two are so blitzed. They're just like, ah!
It's just screaming and mumbling.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Mary, apparently not for Stewart, but for Mary, she actually has a track record of DUIs. So she may actually get in more trouble than Stewart because of this information.
But she didn't drive the car.
No, but she has a history. So apparently she may have conditions of her past crimes that she was supposed to seek treatment or something like that.
If I were her, I'd be even more pissed at Stewart. Where he's like, okay, so you got drunk, you got into an accident, you came home completely just 3 sheets to the wind, and I'm the one getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh man, she's definitely biting him again.
Yes. For Stewart, by fair or foulness, this is his first run-in with the law. So,
I mean, I guess that's good.
Yeah. But for Mary, she actually had a previous history of DUIs, including 2 DUIs within a 5-year period.
That's not good.
So apparently she has some trouble with the bottle. So
yikes.
It's funny. She may actually get in more trouble because of her previous record than Stewart. So, boy, men, sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
Damn men.
Yeah.
Always getting their women into trouble.
It's all women, man. They're second-class citizens. We can't can't help the women here.
No. Well, Stewart's definitely getting bit again because whenever the other one gets out of jail or whatever happens to her.
Yeah. Right now they're both stuck in the county jail on waiting on their bond. So that's another thing too. I guess the judge, they don't feel sorry for him because they're just like, we'll get to it later. We'll get to it after. We'll get to it after the holiday.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's busy. Everybody's on vacation or visiting out of town. So they'll just have to. Yeah, that sucks. Are they going to be in jail for Thanksgiving? Do you get Thanksgiving dinner in jail?
I don't know.
They have to feed you, right?
They have to feed you, but I don't know if it's a Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, they could rustle up some kind of stovetop, stuffing or like instant mashed potatoes. Come on now. Don't leave them hanging.
Yeah, but
don't leave them hanging.
But yeah, unfortunately, that Florida couple, they will not be home for Thanksgiving because the judge is out already on holiday. They're just sorry, you chose a bad time to commit DUI.
because it's a good time to do it, apparently.
Yeah. And don't do it if you have previous records, apparently.
Oh man.
Because poor Mary, she's looking worse than Stewart.
They are locked up for the holidays, and it's all Stewart's fault.
Yeah.
That bastard.
I don't know why. That sounded like a weird name for like a holiday movie. Locked up for the holidays.
It's probably already a thing. It's probably a Hallmark or a Netflix holiday movie.
I don't think Hallmark
out of control.
That might be a little too. That might be a little too risky for Hallmark. Maybe for Netflix.
No. Definitely Netflix.
Yeah, probably something there. Locked up for the holidays.
And if not, they'll probably make it a movie at some point.
Yeah, why not? We've got the story right here. So there you go. That's what I have for you this week for our Thanksgiving odd news for you. Yeah, just if you get in an accident, just pull over. What's the problem?
Just, you got to do what you got to do. Pull over, exchange information, yada, yada, yada. Or preferably, don't drink and drive and get into an accident.
And don't make your car to the point where it's indrivable. Or what was it? I don't know. I already forget the term.
I don't know. It was like non-functioning or something.
Yeah, non-functioning. Yeah, wow.
That's really, how hard did he hit this other car?
That's a smash. That's not just a fender bender.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
No, absolutely not.
All right. Well, we finished dessert. That means we got to start wrapping this episode of the Crispy Compact Communiqué up. Our special Thanksgiving edition of the show. It's good that we have this option. We can be on the fly. We can be mobile and still give you a fresh episode of sports, entertainment, and odd news in an hour-long podcast right here through the Crispy Noodle podcast feed. Whether it is on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook Watch, or on Spotify, make sure you have a way to get every episode sent to you. So subscribe either through YouTube, Facebook Watch, or Spotify. On Spotify, if you put us in the background, you can listen to us as a traditional audio-only podcast, or you have the video feed as well. Spotify does both, so it's great that we have that option as well. Make sure you follow us on all the social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. And as you can see on the video feed, we have our Twitter handles above our heads. I am at Rich Liebig, RichLiebig.
And I'm at Mikey Costanzo, MikeyCostanzo. Reach out to us on Twitter. If you want to share your sports, entertainment, or odd news stories, make sure you send the odd news directly to Rich so that I don't see them. But let us know what you think. Let us know how your holidays are going. And if we choose one of your stories to appear on the podcast, we'll give you the coveted sausage shout out, of course.
That's right. So try and get that sausage shout out perfect for the holiday season coming up.
That's right.
But for right now, we got to start wrapping this up. This has been the Crispy Compact Communiqué, the mobile version that we can do for the Crispy Noodle podcast. Let us be the Crispy Noodle in your vegetarian salad of life and boring news. Anything else, Mikey?
No, hope you all have a fantastic Thanksgiving and stuff yourselves silly and watch some football and hang out with family.
That's right.
Let the good times reign.
That's right. Enjoy the holiday weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Later. Bye-bye, all you fine peoples. Goodbye from the virtual internets. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Some of us have great stories, pretty stories that take place at lakes with boats and friends and noodle salad. A lot of people, that's their story. Good times, noodle salad.